5:50 KTSA News Time is 10:09. It is officially the start of the weekend. As we kick off Gang of Four, we're going to meet the gang and talk about all the stuff that made news this week and is making news right now. You can hang with the gang at 599-5555. And yes, there is a camera in the room because you'll actually be able to watch the video podcast of Gang of Four. It's radio with pictures. That'll be up on Monday on KTSA.com. Let's start with a TV star, a man that's now very familiar with the camera. He's on camera all the time now. The new star of the Food Network, Robert Fleming.
New star, yeah, there you go.
Pancake House. And you were telling us off the air just a minute ago that since Guy Fieri came in, business has, not that you needed the help, but business is even bigger.
Sure is.
That this is actually driven, what did you say, a 25%?
About a 25% increase in our guest visits.
How about that?
Yeah, it's something significant.
Were you expecting that?
Well, you know, the triple D effect, as they call it, is pretty well known. And we kind of sat around saying, well, and there's talk about people being twice as busy, 3 times as busy, and I'm like, I don't see it. How much busier can we be? Because, we're a pretty busy place as it is. I mean, serving 20,000 guests a month makes you pretty busy. Yeah. So it's been really something. We thought we would be busy, and we are. The weekend waits are really running maybe about 10 minutes on average longer than they had been. So it keeps us busy. But the good thing is we're a busy restaurant. We know how to be busy. And our team is really well done. I'm actually in line for a table on Sunday right now.
Yeah,
I think we'll text you when it's ready.
We're going to be over there today, though, for the Riccardi Party.
We've got your spot set.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Robert. Robert Fleming on Gang of Four today. Jade Esteban Estrada is a comedian and entertainer. We're only able to have him on Gang of Four when he occasionally comes back off the road to San Antonio, and he's also a columnist for Plaza De Armas TX.com, which is a column called Glitter Political.
Yes, that's true.
For people that have not read it, you're not just a comedian, you're a serious interviewer.
You keep saying that. I don't see that. I just see it as just getting together with.
You're an observer.
I am an observer. And I like to call it red carpet style interview with politicians.
Well, I think you're successful because people don't see it coming from you. You're not some sort of news guy or somebody that they're bracing themselves for. So people open up to you.
Yeah, they do actually. I've had a really good time meeting different kinds of these political figures, and they never know what to expect from me. Although some people now don't want to meet with me. Like, for instance,
welcome to my world.
Councilwoman Jennifer Ramos. I understand she won't, because she says you never know what to expect with that guy.
Oh,
and it's true, because it's always it's always something different. Yeah. But it's always led by whatever they give me. I have a good time with it.
What's in the next Glitter Political column?
The next Glitter Political column is Karen Crouch. She had her accident, as you may have heard, in October in Vermont. And so I visited her in her home. And she's got a 14-foot Christmas tree with 300 ornaments on it.
14 feet?
Did you know that?
Man. That's a big room to have to take a 14-footer.
She's big, yeah. She's got a really big, tall, it's amazing. Her whole house is like Winter Wonderland. But she's really serious about her campaign, and I really wanted to see, where she was coming from. She just had this accident. She can barely move, and her doctor says she's not allowed to leave the house for her, campaign parties and stuff. She had one last night at her home. Can't move that much, but she's still, very interesting woman.
PlazaDeArmasTX.com to read Jade Esteban Estrada. And where are you appearing? What's the next gig?
I'm doing, thank you Taylor for inspiring me. I'm actually doing the Nutcracker these 2 weeks. Last week and this week is the closing weekend over at the Majestic Theater. For Plaza De Armas, I am doing a behind the scenes.
When Jade says I'm doing the Nutcracker,
I thought he was going to be dancing. That's what I thought.
I'm not sure how to take that.
Yeah, I am. I'm dancing in
I hope you literally mean you're appearing in the production.
I am. Okay. I am. Well, of course, you never know what to expect.
I thought he was going to be like one of those dressed-up soldier guys breaking walnuts, but what do I know?
No, that's online, and that's a whole other show of mine that I do. Yeah. It opens February 22nd. But I'm having a good time at the Majestic with Ballet San Antonio, having a great time with it. I'm new to the Nutcracker, so it was like a Nutcracking 101 thing for me. And I did a 2-part series for Plaza De Armas. Instead of just covering it like I usually would, I actually was asked to join the cast.
You're in the story.
I'm in the show.
You're making
news. So it's all behind the
it.
scenes, found out all the dirt, and I gave
the
it
dirt?
There's a lot of dirt.
There's a lot of ballet dirt?
Yeah.
All right, who knew? Kevin Joyce is a pastor, but unlike brick and mortar, one church, show up at this time on Sunday, you're the 21st century new media kind of pastor. It's all online, right? It's all
you can
wherever,
call it that.
whenever.
We use aspects of online, obviously. We're trying to kick it back old school to just meeting in homes and meeting in the community, So it takes away the expenses of all the big stuff, the building and all that, and just the way we're doing it. But it's been going good.
And it's called?
Fractals.tv. Yeah, actually.
Fractals.tv.
Yeah.
So people can go to that website right now and...
Yeah, actually I have a book, just wrote a book, and it's
No kidding.
It's on the
Congratulations.
site if they want to pick it up at Amazon. It's like an e-reader book.
What's your book about?
So many people are searching for for something, it's like a full life, something, or they see it in a job, or they see it in so many aspects, and it's called Chopsticks, Living a Full Life, How to Live a Full Life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll tell you who's living a full life this week. And I swear to you, I truly believe even he doesn't know how this happened. Let me read you the trending numbers in Florida from American Research Group. They ask Republican voters about every 45 days about the candidates. These are the trending numbers since June for Newt Gingrich. 11%, 3%, 11%, 50% last week. What is going on here? Are they really going to do this?
I think they are, and I think that it makes some sense, and tell you why.
Before you tell me why it makes sense, how did he, because I don't think he even knows, how did he get from 11 to 50?
I'll tell you how. When he decided that this wasn't about attacking the other Republican candidates, but it was more, in his mind, about exposing the media for for the fools and charlatans.
In every debate, he has sort of a
He has when they ask what most of us sit at home and say, well, that's a stupid question. Why are you asking that? And he identifies it as such. To get 30 seconds, what would you do with healthcare? And he's like, you can't do that in 30 seconds. And why are you asking that question? And I think people are like, yes, that's exactly what I've been saying. And so that's what I think is driving it.
Is this flavor of the month, Kevin, or is this here to stay? Because there's been a series of people who've risen like this and then come right back down again in this Republican field just since the summer.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Newt maybe the guy. And it's almost because Herman Cain, he flew up, and then all this sexual stuff came out, and they started attacking him. And I think everyone knew Herman Cain wasn't going to be the guy anyway. But he brought up and I think Newt Gingrich said, hey, thanks for bringing up the whole tax idea. You've really brought this center stage. But it's almost by default. And I don't know why. Mitt Romney didn't win, so I think people in their minds are like, hey, you didn't win the first time. What makes you going to think, you're going to win it again?
Yeah, and part of it, when you talk about Cain and bringing up the tax thing, every one of those guys, I think that at this stage of the game, what they can hope, the best they can hope for, is that they somehow influence the debate, and maybe their core issue makes it to the final platform or something of that nature. But I want to go back to Newt for a second, and why I think it will be him, is that, the mainstream media keeps talking about, obviously they're talking about Herman Cain and his issues, and I've got a whole riff on that. But with Newt, they said, well, he has baggage. Yeah, but you know what? We know it all. We've known it all for a long time. Yeah. There's probably nothing new there. So they will obviously rehash the sitting on, and they're out on the couch with Nancy Pelosi or some of these other things. But you know what? People are going to say, know all about that. Right. Nothing new here. But what he's saying now makes sense.
All right, Jade, flavor of the month or here to stay?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is like when you go to HEB and they're out of whole milk and they only have skim milk, and so you gotta buy the skim milk because you want cereal in the morning. I think when these things are asked, I'm talking food, so you know what I'm talking about. You have to go with what's there. It's almost like the best of a bad bunch. But I really like what you're saying, because that's a wonderful trend of just turning the cameras back on the media and saying, look at the reality of.
But you can't keep doing that.
No. Well, you know what? I'll say this.
The presidential
that's right.
campaign.
You can't.
Running against Brian Williams.
You can't. In this primary period, I think that makes a lot of sense. If his prognostication comes true and he is the candidate, then I think he just moves off of that altogether. He just moves off of that altogether, because then you're right. You need to be telling us what you would do, how you would do it, what the impact is, and what your vision for our success is. If you're not doing one of those 4 things, then shut up and go back to doing your job.
All right, I'm going to differ with you guys, and I will even give you a timeline. This has about 2 weeks to go, no more than that. And I'll tell you why. This is as good as it gets for him, because he has no organization in these other states. His own campaign staff quit on him months ago.
Yeah, but a number of them
maybe
come back
they'll
to work
come
for
back,
him.
but I'm telling you, the people who work in these campaigns know what they're doing. They know when they're in a futile effort. They know when there's no hope. They looked at him a while back, and we've all looked at him a while back. And although I will say he is impressive in the debates, and he does have a grasp of history, and he's had some flashes of brilliance, the country is not going to turn itself over to a 68-year-old history professor. It's not going to happen.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was thinking about this today because I knew this topic was going to come up. 4 years ago at this very time, I sat in this same chair. At the end of a discussion, everybody said, you prompted the question, who's it going to be? And I sat here and I said, it's going to be Obama and Romney. And you and the other 2 panelists said, oh, no way, Hillary's got this thing locked up. You're crazy. It'll be Hillary Romney. Well, I was right and I was wrong. And, Obama looked like no one's going to turn it over to this guy who voted president how many times, who came out of nowhere, who has no experience. That was the conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom didn't play out. And I think this time it's going to be people sitting around saying, you know what, he's the devil we know. Better than the devil we got, and we know what this guy's a known quantity. And taking Jade's skim milk thing into account, we'll mix the skim milk with a little half and half, and we'll end up with whole milk.
I knew they did that at that restaurant.
Not mine, dude. But I do do that at home.
I just don't think he wears well over time.
Time will tell.
And I'll tell you another thing that people are in big time denial about. I don't know if you are, but this momentum that's going on right now is in big time denial about what a big government guy he is. If you really listen to what he's saying,
big government, big idea.
everything, his answer to everything is vigorous federal action, vigorous Oval Office action. I have to tell you, I'll be very surprised if that's what plays with the nation as a whole. I think we're fed up and tired of that.
I don't think we're going to get a small government guy out of the Republican Party.
Well, you're not going to. No, you're not going to get
for some time.
You're not going to get some libertarian, but
yeah.
But I think contrasting him to somebody who's going to say, I trust markets, I trust the states. If Romney keeps saying that, and he does have the organization, and I'm telling you, his people are very cool and calm. They're not freaking out about this. I think you'll find in about a month he'll be back as the leading candidate.
I think Romney ill-served himself in his interview with Bret Baier. The fact that he wouldn't even come on the special report and sit in the chair. And he would only do it on a one-on-one in his place with the questions.
I got to tell you, Robert, no one has ever mentioned that to me. I realize people watch Fox News. That's not exactly a pivotal. That's not a pivotal moment in American history.
What I'm saying is that he's not handling the difference between him and Gingrich, and they both have the fluid opinion problem. Fluid position problem is that Gingrich says, yeah, that was a stupid mistake. I made a mistake, and I've grown from there, or I've changed. Romney won't change.
Romney knows when to stop talking.
Yeah, that's
and
true
he knows
too.
when to stop proposing new government actions. And Gingrich cannot help himself. He should be glad they limit the answers to 30 seconds or a minute. Because if they gave him more time, he'd be adding 7 more branches of the government. I mean, he loves it.
So
the kind that Perry were going to take out.
It's clear.
If Perry says he would make the government inconsequential in your life, Newt Gingrich would be the president of everything.
It's kind of fun to watch this because there's a big faction that doesn't like Newt. There's a big faction that doesn't like Romney. And the others on the undercard are played out. So now you want to say, well, who would you all pick? Who would everybody coalesce gladly behind? I don't know. But all of a sudden, it doesn't seem like Jeb Bush he can't get elected because his last name is Bush.
You said it though. We're not gonna. This isn't gonna be a happy. This isn't gonna be a happy time.
Oh, no.
This isn't gonna be a wow. We got everything we wanted. Our dreams have come true. We won the grand prize. I mean, it isn't gonna be that kind of election. And as we were talking about earlier, Kevin, really none of them are. But I don't think people are going to, when they have heard 2 or 3 more weeks of I'm going to be the nominee, and I've got a program for that, and I was just at a think tank the other day, and let me tell you for an hour about that problem that you just asked me about. I'm telling you, that is not going to wear well. It's the reason he hasn't been president before, or hasn't been considered for it before.
Well,
he's not made of that stuff.
The interesting thing is, a year from now, we'll have it on YouTube, won't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, I don't remember predicting. I remember favoring Romney. I don't remember predicting Romney. I will agree with you that conventional wisdom would have said Hillary, and we've learned from that. And one of the things we've learned is that substance is not very important, right? Image is important. Spin is important. Making a quick impression is important.
Well,
so if Gingrich
about,
is the substance candidate, I'm not sure substance is the thing right now.
well, as you talked about at the end of the 9 o'clock hour, this is what it's become. And until we, the electorate, are ready for a profound return to, our citizen legislature founding principle, this is what we get.
Yes.
This is the game.
And we're going to talk more about that game. And with our gang, it's 10:25 on 550 KTSA.
I apologize. I do not listen to you. I was scanning the radio, and I completely agree with you.
From what I hear of you, you would make an excellent listener.
It is a fabulous show. I am hooked.
Oh, well,
I'm here.
Thank you. I need the Michelles of the world every once in a while because I have the other people.
You suck. The worst show I've ever heard.
They're going out one door, they're coming in another door.
Jack Riccardi, 9 till 1.
Go back to Boston.
550 KTSA.
I want to point out the inconsistent people who could be the nominee. They're not going to be the nominee.
You're going to be the nominee.
I'm going to be the nominee. I mean, it's very hard not to look at the recent polls and think that the odds are very high. I'm going to be the nominee. And by the way, I don't object if people want to attack me. That's their right. All I'm suggesting is it's not going to be very effective. People are going to get sick of it very bad.
Wow. How can somebody so smart say something so dangerous? I'm going to be the nominee.
He believes in himself. I love it.
Confident.
Yeah, well, maybe that will be appealing to people. I think over the years, I've always thought that the more Newt Gingrich you get, the less you like him. And he really, once he was overexposed in that budget showdown, that federal government it was never the same for him again. The contract with America was one thing, because he was in a group of people. That was a cast of players. And it was, let's face it, pretty meat and potatoes stuff. How are you going to be against that? But I think as a standalone guy, the center of attention, and giving answers like that, I just don't think this wears very well. And he's running against someone in Romney who has a kind of low-key, somebody said he's kind of a 50s kind of guy,
He combs his hair.
wholesome and
When you
low-key,
stack them up, I will say, when you stack them up one against the other, people will be drawn to Romney simply because he's a suave, good-looking guy.
It's very hot.
It isn't just that.
It is for a lot of people that.
People are going to come around to, I don't want Obama to win. I'm not so sure this Gingrich can do this, but I've already seen the numbers that show Romney would. We've got to get Obama out of there, therefore we're going to nominate the guy we feel safe with. And Romney has not done one thing to ding that impression, whereas Gingrich, sooner or later, is going to uncork another one of these off the top of his head ideas about immigration or whatever, and it'll be off to the races.
Was his idea on immigration so objectionable?
You know what? It wasn't, but it was out of the clear blue in that debate. As I recall, it was a national security debate. Even his own aides didn't know he was going to say that. That's the mark of a guy who's not disciplined. Yeah. You don't go into something like that and go, hey, I think this just crossed my mind. I think I'll bring this up.
Big idea guys are like that. Because I'm kind of that way myself. I'm a big idea guy, and I've known a lot. we're like that. I mean, we get it, we get excited for it, we want to get it out there. So
That
it can
is
be
very
heard.
true. That is a very like entrepreneurial type
Yeah.
of thinking. You know, like think off the cuff, but
The stream of
it
consciousness.
doesn't mean that you should always implement it.
No,
so
no,
maybe-
no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I preface all those to the people that I'm sharing with, kind of a thinking out loud thing. But what do you think about?
I agree with Mark Stein, who says that Gingrich's ideas all sound like they're from a self-help book. Everything is dramatically, profoundly, compellingly.
Oh yeah, he's Mr. Adverb.
He
for
is
sure.
Mr. Adverb. But we'll see. And is some of this also, are Republicans starting to think, because of, again, poll numbers, gee, we can beat Obama with any number of people, so let's have the guy we're really most fond of, or let's go with the most out there, kind of troublemaker guy. Because I think for a while they maybe thought, hey, it's going to be an uphill battle. You got to dislodge an incumbent president. History's against you on that. Does Gingrich become possible because the poll numbers show Obama is definitely more beatable?
Oh, I think so. But and then doesn't it make you
Are they
wonder?
right?
I think Obama is definitely beatable. But I also think he's
But I'll hear
definitely
Republicans-
reelectable.
I'll hear Republicans say, Kevin, Republican friends of mine, hey, anybody on that stage could beat Obama. Is that true?
I think it's a nice soundbite, but I think it's going to be harder than they think. I mean, it really. I mean, history it says what it is. Incumbents are very, very hard to beat, and it's. We say, hey, it's the worst guy of the Republican Party. We're just trying to pick the best of the worst, but you already know what you got right now. You know what I'm saying? And people, they say they like change. I know that, but really, they don't. People don't like change. And that was just so funny. The whole, Obama, we're going to change, and then kind of that letdown, but people don't like change.
Well, and the other thing, Jade, is people, I saw, I don't know, I think it was Fox or one of the stations the other day was doing a comparison of Obama's political fortunes at this moment to Jimmy Carter's political fortunes in the fall of 1979, which I had the sound down, but even without the sound, I knew it was a ludicrous comparison. For one thing, Carter had the hostages in Iran, which Obama hopefully will not have. Secondly, Carter had no political machine of his own. It was the Democratic Party, and they had given up on Jimmy Carter by 1980. They were dispirited and discouraged. Look, Obama is a political force. This Chicago machine is not going to sit there and let anybody, Romney, Gingrich, any of them, knock him around. Are Republicans prepared for what will be done to whoever they nominate? I wonder about that.
I think they're seeing what's going to be done, and whoever the eventual nominee is better toughen up his hide, because they are going to come after him, which may be a reason why Romney ends up with it, because he has the least amount of dirty laundry. I mean, he probably has no real personal dirty laundry. He's not going to have a 13-year relationship giving money without his wife's knowledge to some woman. He's not going to have, the Michelle Bachmann, Marcus Bachmann issue. He's not going to have, Newt, even though he's addressed the thing with his previous marriage, he doesn't have any of that stuff. And so maybe he changed his position on abortion, or maybe he changed his position on mandated health care. If he comes out and he cops to it and says, I made a mistake, I think he may be very ultimately electable.
I think also Obama is not going to have the same grassroots passion from the
Exactly.
people as he did in last time. And in 2012, I think the conservative side is going to be very aware of that, and they're going to take advantage of that. So that's something to really take into consideration, at least in my opinion.
Well, I think that's true, but you're going to hear the same stuff you hear every 4 years. Their victory would mean an end to a woman's right to choose.
Right.
Their victory would mean an end to health care for seniors. Their victory would mean people would be dying in the streets. I mean, that is very powerful stuff.
Sure.
And every 4 years, just when you think they can't pull that card again, it turns out to work very, very well.
If the Republicans get nasty and go and counter it and saying, their programs continue will deny your children opportunities. Their programs, if continued, would have death panels. Their programs,
Well, no,
if
the Republicans
continued,
don't talk that way. The
I
Republicans
know
say,
that-
we want to work with them.
they need to get mean
We wanna
and
reach
nasty.
across the aisle.
And that's the biggest. That's my biggest beef with the Republican Party, is that they need to get mean and nasty, just as the Democrats have been mean and nasty. And you repeat a lie long enough, people tend to believe it.
All right. Speaking of Herman Cain, as we were, Herman Cain is going to be meeting with the missus.
No, I don't want to be Herman.
What do you bring to that?
A dozen roses ain't going to get it done, Jack.
They don't have a. They don't. Hallmark doesn't make a card for this.
Yeah, really.
Do they? Herman Cain says in the most recent interview, I think this was the one with the Manchester Union leader, that Mrs. Cain did not know about the. Pull on your headphones for this. About the financial assistance for 13 years to Ginger White.
Do they not? I'm serious. Do they not consider this when they're running for president?
Exactly.
Like, do they not think this
Yeah.
is someone's going to find it?
Maybe I
someone's
should.
Gonna say something?
Maybe I should ask some advisors or
Yes.
sit down with some people and go, "Hey, let me put this in front of you. Do you think I can run with this, this, and this?"
Yes.
I love this guy, Herman Cain. I've known about him since the 80s because, being a restaurant guy, he came and took over Godfather's Pizza. I love this guy, and I think he's a really smart guy. Do I think he's qualified to be president? Not so much anymore. But if I could get him in a room, I want to say, Herman, I got to ask you, brother. I got to ask you. 13 years, whether you were riding the train with her or not, 13 years, and you didn't think anybody would find out about this? I mean, really, brother, what are you thinking?
I agree,
lot of
but let me be
pizza.
devil's advocate. Jade, is it possible that somebody could be so far outside politics that they would think, hey, you know what? Of course it'll come up, and when it does, I'll just explain it. There's a good explanation, and I'll just explain it.
I think that's probably what.
Because he is a smart guy.
Yeah, he's a very smart guy. When I first saw this, my first thought, and this is just how I think because I do believe in the art of media training for all public people, my first thought was private acting coaching sessions, like right now. You need to you need to undo this immediately, but you gotta believe it from your heart. Because he needs that. He needs to, whether it's true or not, I think almost every candidate throughout history has had some 13-year something. Almost everybody, but that's my first thought, is that he's got to be.
I'm pretty cheap. I haven't been helping anybody like that.
He needs to absolutely he needs to squash this. I saw online today, they were calling it damage control. Absolutely, but you have to have that skill.
Hey, I've been married for 27 years, okay? There is no way Mrs. Cain didn't have some inkling that something wasn't something. I just don't know, unless the guy's a master compartmentalizer. I mean, that's something I don't
Some
think
people
most
are.
guys could hide.
You
Some
mentioned
people are.
you mentioned the National Restaurant Association. I got to say, I've been saying this all week. That sounds like a happening place.
Really?
Apparently, being president of the National Restaurant Association
Well, let me tell you something.
is not as boring as it sounds.
Hey, 35 years in the restaurant and hotel business, and I got lots of stories to tell about lots of things I see.
Where do
Doesn't
I sign
surprise me
up?
that it happens at the headquarters, because then it'd be like super
But I mean, it
concentration.
sounds so dry. The National Restaurant Association, like they'd have to.
Hey man, you all just don't know what kind of
I
fun
had
happens
no
after the place
idea.
closes.
Soda
Believe
party.
me.
The
Forget
doors
about
that
it.
opens. And the fun they're having over there. Like, I'd like to know, who's the president now? I mean, what's going on over there now?
Hefner.
Well,
Yeah,
I
Hugh
think-
Hefner must be over there.
I think a lot less than maybe 6 months ago.
All right, I think he was done even before this, though.
Oh, yeah,
You
he
got to
was
be
toast.
on. Let's
He was
be honest.
toast. He was toast after
Some
the
of the
first
other
one.
stuff, it wasn't these things. That people want to pretend like, another giant has been felled by his personal indiscretions. He had been felled by his answers to questions, by his inability to articulate.
When he struggled with the foreign policy issues, and I think the first one was the Palestinian right of return. When he booted that one, I think that was the downward slope.
Yeah, I mean, again, this brings into question just this whole process of how we do this, how we go about
Yeah,
this. Because
I'm wondering. I mean, how do you restrict it? But I'm wondering, really, at this point, you've got 7 or 8 of them on the stage, plus Gary Johnson, who can't get any traction, and you got John Huntsman up there, who, if it wasn't John Huntsman, wealthy guy, former ambassador to China, former governor of Utah, he wouldn't be on any stage at 2% or 3%. And how do you change it? How do you get to the point?
yeah, but you know what?
Where,
I'll tell you something.
where this is a serious
I'll tell you something
conversation.
about Huntsman, and I really believe this. First of all, watch him again in 4 years because he's only 47 years old.
Yeah.
But secondly, not necessarily him specifically, but his kind of person is the kind of people who were generated by the smoke-filled rooms. They are known to everybody who is a player, and they're substantive. And it's not for nothing that Forbes and the Wall Street Journal said, actually, this guy's plan is the best plan. So if you had the smoke-filled room, I'm not saying it would literally be him, but it might be people like him who, yes, when you put them on the stage and they have to go through this dog and pony show, they're terrible at it. He's terrible at it. But back in the day when we had a different selection process, weren't we happier with the outcomes?
Was Nixon one of those candidates?
No, Nixon was in the primary era. The primary era began in the 60s.
Oh, you're talking before that.
I'm talking about when the people who in the know went to these conventions, and it wasn't who wants the job, it's who do we have in our party that we can put forward who is the war hero.
When did
or
that
the,
stop happening?
Well, it pretty much stopped in the 60s and 70s. I don't think, I mean, maybe Nixon would be that guy, I don't know, but you can pick out, you can say, well, what about this one, what about that one? I'm just saying, in the aggregate, weren't we happier with maybe the first 30 or 35 presidents we had than with the last 5 or 10? I think we were.
I think the other problem is that this whole thing starts way too early. People, and
But
by
this
the
is
time,
why it does.
yeah, but by the time it comes to November of 2012, we are beat down and tired of listening to it.
It was funny when McCain. The media was spinning McCain. You know, he was obviously a prisoner of war, and they were saying, yeah, but he really wasn't in the military. He was just a prisoner of war. I was going, are you kidding me? Are you kidding?
How exactly does that happen?
How can you be a prisoner of war? And then I mean, how far it's gone is, like I said, Obama. I mean, his issues. He's just an image guy. I mean, he's a master at speaking, at image. Think about the difference. McCain was gone, Obama was in, and like I said, you could even take the issues aside, take off the issues, and you still have this guy who was a war hero. This guy's the image, you know, and you can see how it's usually going that way. Who has the image? Who can pull off the
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you certainly got to have an image, and there's
Sure.
always been image in
Everyone
politics.
does.
But I'm just suggesting that maybe there was a time when not wanting it the most wasn't so important. You know, today, and Romney is the classic example of this. The guy's been running nonstop for 6 years. He's pure. His ambition is to be president. Nothing is getting in the way.
You have
of
to
that.
ask yourself, so what does the guy do if he doesn't get it?
yeah.
I mean,
He probably runs again.
How apoplectic could you get after, a two-time loser? He'd be the Harold Stassen of his
Well,
generation.
he'll be looking at Gingrich
right?
going, I'm losing to this guy?
Yeah, really.
How did this happen? Mr. Asterisk is beating me. All right, 10:45 into the newsroom. Gang of Four continues on 550 KTSA. Back when there used to be slow news days. Remember that? That never happens anymore, right? There's never a slow news day. And yet I could swear, unless maybe there's something in the coffee, I could swear that yesterday Wolf Blitzer on CNN, did anybody else see this? Was interviewing Kermit the Frog.
Wow. Well,
Yes.
Kermit is hot right now.
I mean, I guess the movie.
It's a great movie. I cried like 4 times.
He was asking him about the presidential race, which would be a natural thing. I mean, if I could get Kermit the Frog, that's the number one thing I want to know. And
Well,
Kermit
from a
was.
Democratic perspective, you
Well,
gotta be,
we got to get the amphibian American, perspective. And he
Mine's
was
always gotta be
explaining.
green.
Yeah, he can't vote, but he is very interested. They asked him about Newt Gingrich, and he says, "I know a lot of Newts back in the swamp." And this was the interview. I'm not kidding. I mean, this was the whole thing.
love it.
But you know what I think would be really cool? There used to be a character on the Muppets called Guy Smiley. Remember Guy Smiley?
Yes.
The game show host? Is that not Mitt Romney in Muppet form when you think about it?
yeah.
Guy Smiley is Mitt Romney. Get him on. It's only a matter of time. The Guy Smiley moment will be coming probably on CNN. All right, Robert Fleming from the Magnolia Pancake House is here on Gang of Four. Jade Esteban Estrada, who does so many things, I don't know where to begin, but columnist, comedian, entertainer, ballet dancer. He was actually regaling us with some moves during the break. I was out of the room.
They were good movies.
Best plie I've seen by a man in a sport coat, and I don't know how long.
Frightened that you know
been a
what a
while.
plie is, Robert Fleming. Kevin
For
Joyce.
13 years, he knew.
Kevin.
Wow, that's a speechless moment. Get that.
Do you
Get
think that men would have more admiration for Herman Cain if he said, "Yeah, I was giving her money," and I mean the whole business of I was just giving her money, there was nothing.
I gotta be honest.
Would that be more?
I find it hard to believe that any man would give a woman money over 13 years, and that's all. I find that almost. I've been a man for 56 years. I find that incomprehensible.
I would think there'd at least be some kissing.
Something.
Kevin Joyce is here too, and we're embarrassing him because he's a good guy, and this is a terrible line of conversation that we're going
But
down.
Kevin had a good idea about Kane.
He did.
About the reality show thing. Go ahead. That's
I've heard a lot of people say this. What do you think is
It's a
going to
good
happen?
idea.
I just said, hey, I mean, if you're going to run for president, you might as well come out with the stuff that you've done. You know, you can just start with a clean slate, say, this is what I've done, and then what can they pull on you after that?
Be like a 1 hour special.
Yeah, there you go. And it's a good thing anyway. Saying, hey, look, I messed up. We've all messed up, right? I mean,
And you put a positive. These are the women I have helped. I'm ready to help America. Let me introduce you to people I've already helped.
That's right.
I want to do for you what I've done for them, or something like that, or with them, or
That's a
something.
great idea.
All right. I thought this was one of the craziest stories of the week. I find it's so San Antonio. City Council, until it sort of came to its senses yesterday, was trying to pass an ordinance that would have banned smoking at Fiesta parades. Now, when I first heard this, I thought they meant the people in the parade, which I agree. If you're in a parade, you shouldn't be smoking.
Sure.
But this was for people watching the parade. And they were going to have a 50-foot smoke-free buffer zone. Really?
Hey, what's next? Liquor-free Fiesta?
Well, see, right.
Don't put it
Don't
in
hold
their
your
head.
breath for that. But I mean, first of all, it's December. Isn't Fiesta in April? How is this even on the radar? Where is this even coming from? And all you can think of is that this is the typical low-hanging fruit. We look for something easy to do. We make a quick name for
They
ourselves.
already renamed all the streets they needed to rename.
It's street renaming.
Yeah, that's all it is.
It's gotta hurt more though. I mean, wouldn't you think it'd backfire and say, "Are you serious?" You know what I'm saying?
We haven't said it yet. They make a hit. This is what they do, and they will tell you. And Jade, you've interviewed a lot of these candidates and a lot of these council members. They'll tell you, look, we only have 2-year terms, and it's hard to get into anything very substantive or lengthy because we won't be around to see it through. So, this is what you get. You get soundbite, quick hit,
Right.
Yeah,
low-hanging fruit.
Like this legacy legislation, I call it. This is my legacy. I got that Durango Street renamed.
I
or
didn't even
got
know there was a
no
problem.
smoking.
I didn't realize that. Are
There
there
really
people
are.
smoking at the parade?
I don't know, but what comes to mind is the Christmas lights along the Riverwalk.
Oh, they changed them to LED. Oh man, what a
Yeah,
mistake!
they did,
that
and
is.
I went around asking people, for a PDA thing, what they thought, and it seemed like everybody was really into the idea of being like energy conscious and
Right.
and green and stuff, and I just think that that's just a trend. It's a trend that people want, whether it makes sense or not, whether it's convenient or not, doesn't matter. It's the thing to do, and if you only got 2 years to do it, it's like you say, leave a mark. It's a
God
political
forbid
thing.
we start to work on something and maybe we're not there at the ribbon cutting or the fruition, but we started something
When your
serious
legacy
and
be,
important.
I'm the person that brought this to recognition and
no,
started
no,
the process.
I'd like them to do one thing, just one. Just do one thing in 2 years and get rid of all the other, like all that stuff.
Oh, well, but how could you run for your next office?
I know, but
That won't fill up a website. In Cleveland, Ohio, an 8-year-old boy has been taken from his family home because he's over 200 pounds. He's only a third grader. And the state, what they call Department of Child and Family Services, which would be like our Child Protective Services here, says, look, we worked with this woman. We gave her people to see. We gave her diet plans. We expected to see results. We did not see them. Instead of losing weight, he was gaining it. We had to take him away. How do you feel about that? And if that is the right thing to do, how often will that be happening, especially in a society where there are so many obese children?
Oh, is that what we're talking about? Oh, they should not come to San Antonio and do that. They'd have a field day. Where were they going to put all these
There aren't
kids?
enough buses to take all the fat kids away. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's crazy.
So if this is the right thing to do, then wouldn't you have to do it a lot?
Yeah. To enforce it, to let people know about it, sure.
Is it the right thing to do, Robert Fleming?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I'm troubled.
Is
with
this like child neglect, though?
I,
Is this the same thing as
I
beating
do
your
believe
kid?
it is, but you know, here we don't. I don't know if we have all the things. A child of that age that weighs that much, it is not strictly a function of what they ate. There is some metabolic underlying cause. There has to be. You can't eat that many Doritos and double cheeseburgers. You just can't. The other part of it is too. Is anybody in the home active? Does anybody go out and take a walk? Does a kid play in the backyard? Does he just come home and get on the Xbox for the next 4 hours? I bet they don't even have gym classes at his school.
Right.
Okay? Because, we just can't have that. Got to have more time for whatever.
We look at a kid like that, and I mean, Kevin, you're a dad. I mean, even if it's not your child, your heart breaks to see children like that. So you think to yourself, something needs to be done. But is this the something?
No, obviously not. That's just craziness. I mean, it actually angers me. I mean, just because there's just so many other solutions. Ripping somebody from their parents, that's gonna scar just right there.
That's extreme.
Just right there, it's gonna hurt.
It's a nose under the tent kind of thing.
Yeah, and
Where
there's
does
n-
it stop?
Right, and there's no way to effectively help that kid by doing that. But I think at the same time, we can't say, oh well, he's fine the way he is. I mean, no, of course not. It's just like one extreme or the other. I mean, I'm sure there's a friend, a church, or somebody, a nonprofit that would be able to help that kid. Or like I said, I think you're probably right. And the kid can't eat that many Doritos. How old was he? 8?
8.
Yeah, there's something going on.
It was telling to me, I'm looking at the story from the Cleveland newspaper, and there's a quote from the county spokesman for the county social service. We don't have a specific policy on this. So are you making it up? I mean, are you going to figure it out as you go along?
It's like so many things that we see in local government, state government, federal government. It's like we react to something that somehow offends our sensibilities. We're like, well, that's not right. We have to do something about that. Okay, but what? Well, I don't know, but let's do something. Let's take that kid away from there. That'll teach that lady a lesson. Yeah, but is that really going to prevent the next? What's it going to do for that kid and for that family and for
But we
people
do
wanting to
take,
cooperate?
but people would support taking if she was beating him, and he was coming to school with bruises and injuries and so forth. Most people would say there should be a government agency that steps in and takes him away and prosecutes her. So, is there any likening of physical abuse to this kind of neglect?
On some level, yes, but the background part of it is that. Again, here's the stream of conscious thinking out loud thing, folks. If you're beating your kid, you're physically abusing the child. You are doing
You've crossed a line that everybody
mental
recognizes.
and physical
Yeah,
harm.
we know what that is.
We know what the outcome is. There's nothing in the report in the article that I read about it that said that somehow the child felt was unloved or any other part of his life did not.
Gets good grades, honor roll.
Yeah, that showed that the mother was neglectful in some other way or abusive in any other way. Child abuse, mental, whether it's mental or physical, is fairly identifiable, and I think a lot of people agree upon it. In this area, I don't think you're going to get that kind of agreement.
What you have is it's hard to see intent, right? Intent is something hard to see. It's not physical. Intent is something intangible. So then we come up with a program that just looks at outcome,
Yeah.
right? And that's when you have just laws that nobody follows or looks at or doesn't matter.
The good thing is that maybe it just opens the door to trying to understand the causes of obesity and the various ways a child that age can become like that, and
Sure.
it opens up dialogue, and that's a great thing to happen out of a bad situation.
I wonder where else you could go with this, because the weight is only one symptom. What if you start saying, well, the cholesterol count is too high, or we don't think he has a strong enough prescription for eyeglasses, or
Exactly. Where does it go?
It's really a make it up as you go along, which may be fine for some things, but you're talking about taking a child out of his family home, and I know there are foster parents and there's some good ones, but as one of you said, this cure is more traumatic than the condition.
Really,
it is designed to alleviate.
What is going to be the long-term effect on that child being taken from a mother who, by all other indications, is a loving mother? He's in an environment where, on many levels, he is thriving. On his physical well-being, he may not be thriving. And, you know, just because it seems like the right thing to do, does that necessarily make it the right thing to
But
do?
can you imagine if you're the parent? I meant the shame that you would feel, right? That someone came in and took your child. I mean, you'd want to leave the country.
Well,
I mean,
and I
really,
was
like,
also
hey, let's
thinking,
get on a plane and let's roll.
If she
I mean,
gets him back, now her credibility is shot.
Sure.
He's no longer seeing her as someone who is his protector
Right.
and takes care of
Right.
him. If that's true, I mean, maybe she isn't, but as you said, Robert, the other indicators are that she has other kids, they're fine. I mean, it seems like what you've done here is you've now created a situation that almost can't be fixed. He's never going to be able to see his mother the same way again.
And what about his siblings? How are they going to view him? How are they going to view their mother?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you can't, I'm sorry, but you can't do everything that feels right. Because just because it feels right doesn't make it right.
Speaking of doing the right thing, we mentioned this earlier. General Motors CEO Dan Akerson says, if you're a Chevy Volt owner and you're getting a little nervous because some of these have turned into giant barbecue pits after an accident, these are the all-electric cars, we'll buy it back from you. I mean, don't worry about it. This was Car of the Year, okay? How is this happening? What is going on here? To me, there is an obvious culprit. The Chevy Volt would never have happened but for, again, we know better government policies and bureaucrats.
It feels like the right thing to do.
It's a taxpayer-subsidized car. When you buy it, you're not paying the whole price for developing it. It's a symbolic victory. It clearly isn't changing the game for the auto industry or for
1,100
transportation.
cars sold last month.
Yeah, they sell less than 100 of them a month. And they're selling them to a very select group of people because I think it's about a $40,000 sticker price.
And so it's like $32,500 after the government rebate, for a Matchbox.
I mean, the battery should be the least of our worries here. This is what you get when people that are not in the business of building cars start building our cars.
Exactly. I mean, I think this, can you draw a correlation to the Healthcare Protection Act? You may be able to, but it's here again. We're the government. We know what's best. This is what you should have. So if they're able to prevail and say we all have to buy health insurance, then what's the next thing? You all have to buy a Chevy Volt. You only can wear Levi's blue jeans. I mean, they can make you do anything if that's the way it goes. And they just don't know better. And every time they've tried to do something like this, this is the result we get.
Read this yesterday. A top Israeli general, retired general, says in an interview, these explosions that have been happening at Iranian military sites, not accidents, not coincidences. Do any of you think Israel has actually already started to attack the Iranian nuclear program?
Could be them. Could be, Iran. We don't hear a lot about the Iranian dissidents, but apparently there's a fairly strong movement, especially in people under 30, to try to replace this regime. They're clearly not happy with what's going on, but they keep them beat down pretty good. I would think that maybe it's the Israelis in conjunction working with that, that element of Iranian society that clearly wants a change.
I thought it was incredible. I read that book, Son of Moss. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but just incredible. He was like a spy for Israel, and it was incredible just to see how much background stuff is going on and those types of things that pop up in the news. He was saying some of the incidents, and it's by the government, and they're manipulating things.
So while we're all saying should they may already actually be doing it. All right, we're back with the lightning round for Gang of Four, but first we go into the newsroom. It's 11:24. Here's Karen on 550 KTSA. It's time for the lightning round on Gang of Four. Jack Riccardi on 550 KTSA. And we have on the gang today Pastor Kevin Joyce from Fractals.tv, Jade Esteban Estrada, whose column Glitter Political is in the Plaza De Armas TX.com online newspaper. By the way, this is the most subdued, if we can get a shot here of Jade, very subdued wardrobe today. No glitter, no sequins.
If you get close enough.
Feathered boa.
at a show last night. It doesn't come off easily.
Oh, there's still
It
some
doesn't come
glitter?
out. Yeah, I saw it and I was like, you know what? He's gonna call me on it, and
I'm
that's
not
just the way it is.
criticizing.
No.
Sometimes less is more.
You know, a year ago we were at Northside Ford with him, and I mean, he had like the glitter. You remember the glitter
I remember he had
shoes?
It
and-
was the next
Oh
day.
yeah, and he had a boa
shoes.
Day.
and you had chrome steel tip platform shoes
Well, yeah.
and a boa and something else. I mean, you were in
was Christmas.
total Bowie mode, man.
And Robert Fleming is here, who told us earlier he's been a man for 56 years.
Unlike
now on the record.
and I've never been on Dancing with the Stars either.
Now on the record. All right, from Magnolia Pancake House. Cyber Monday. Monday was Cyber Monday, and they said it was the biggest online shopping day ever in the U.S. Of course, before Cyber Monday, you have Black Friday, which is really, we should really rename that. It's offensive.
The Fridays?
Are you guys more Black Friday, more Cyber Monday, both, neither? What are you, Kevin?
Cyber Monday.
You're a Cyber
I'm a
Monday
big
kind of
one,
guy?
yeah.
You'd rather shop online
Yeah.
if you have to shop?
If I have to shop, pick up Amazon.com,
Yeah.
free shipping, boom, done.
God bless Amazon.com,
Yes.
I'll tell you what. Jade, more Black Friday,
You're
more
a very
Cyber Monday?
modern pastor. I have to say that.
He
You're
is.
everything you've said is just so 21st century. Up to the Cyber Monday thing, which I agree. Cyber Monday is my thing. Actually, I sold a lot of DVDs. Actually, as a seller and as a buyer, it's just so convenient. It is there. I'm not one to go out into the universe on Black for
Yeah, you're right.
Friday. I don't even know what it's called. Yeah.
All right, I think I know Robert's
Yes.
answer, but I'm going to try anyway. Are you more Black Friday or more Cyber Monday?
Neither. I'm a cyber purchaser, but I can honestly say, again, having been a man for 56 years, that I have never gone into a retail establishment on the day after Thanksgiving to purchase anything.
You couldn't pay me.
Oh, there's not enough money in two worlds.
You couldn't. You couldn't pay me. I don't know. I don't care. People tell me, oh, there's some great deals. If you were giving it away for free.
I heard a guy last night being interviewed on radio, and he was the chairman of some retailer, and he said, well, how are you going to be open on Christmas Eve? And the guy said 10 p.m., and I'm like, you heartless SOB, you got to be kidding me. 10 p.m. on Christmas Eve? Ugh.
You don't like that?
No, I don't like that, and I didn't like that whole, opening at 4 o'clock on Thanksgiving and then none of that nonsense.
You know, though, look, when I was in high school and I worked in a retail, I worked on holidays. I mean, why? It's okay. It won't kill you.
I have too. I've been in the food business my whole life, and I've worked lots of holidays. But I just think that, as I get older and more curmudgeonly, maybe some old school things ain't so bad.
Well, I say if it behooves the businessman, if that's part of what keeps him in business, keeps the doors open, if he's got employees that will do it, and maybe if he's smart, maybe he gives them extra time and a half, or they're hungry for more hours, I have no problem with it. I'm not offended. Just because I wouldn't go to a store on Thanksgiving, I'm not offended by the idea.
I'm not offended by it. I just really don't think it's long-term a great way to treat your associates.
And also, if you'd ever been around my family, you'd be looking for a store to go to in the afternoon.
Just a tavern.
All right. Speaking of the internet and being very 21st century, we had a little example of that this week with the governor of Kansas. A high school student meets the governor of Kansas, Sam Brownback, as part of a group of students learning about government. Yeah. She sends in a tweet about he sucks or something like that. His people, who are monitoring the internet, because when you're the governor of Kansas, you need to be very on top of cyberspace.
I've heard.
They get wind of this. They dime her out to this youth in government group, which in turn dimes her out to her high school. Her principal calls her in. This sounds like something out of Ferris Bueller. Tells her, you're going to write an apology letter to the governor. She says, no, I'm not. Her parents back her up. Freedom of speech. She tweeted it to 65 people. The story finally wound up that the governor of Kansas had to apologize to her for his staff's overreaction.
Yeah.
Isn't this a classic case of not getting it?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, really, you're that worried about what somebody tweeted about you? They said you suck. Well, maybe Sam, maybe you do.
you suck.
You might just suck.
But there's an old saying: never shoot down. Is there anything worse than the visual of a governor
That's bad.
going after an 18-year-old?
Yeah, the optics don't get
sad.
much worse than that.
That's
I
bad.
mean, let it go, man.
They don't get much worse.
Remember Bill Frist? He was the Senate Majority Leader, Republican senator from Tennessee. He was also a surgeon and a doctor while he served in the Senate. This week he came out and said, obesity is America's new national security threat.
Well, yeah.
Boy,
if
those
you
Al
have to-
Qaedas are sneaky.
if you gotta chase those wiry guys down and you're, packing a few pounds, take it from me, not so easy to catch them.
It's the national security threat. A new study called Too Fat to Fight says America's obesity will prevent us from defending ourselves and winning the war on terror.
No, not because the next war will be an Xbox war.
Oh, so we won't even have to get
It
up
wouldn't
out of our
matter.
chair.
The fat guys will do better because they're just better at Xbox.
Practice.
Is this not the classic big government conservatism, though?
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
it just goes to show that no matter which side you put in, they can't wait to get their greasy fingers on the levers of power to tell us all how to
Greasy chicken fried
live.
fingers, I might add.
Yeah.
In canola oil.
But yeah, obesity
No
is the
trans
new
fats.
national security threat. All right. You probably heard the story about the North Carolina school that sent out reverse 911, or not reverse 911, but robocall apologies to all of the parents at the school, apologizing about a religious message. It seems that they had something at the school called Operation Christmas Child, which is just exactly what it sounds like, a charity. Part of the project involved a questionnaire, and one of the lines on the questionnaire was, I love Jesus because, fill in the blank. And for this, they sent out a robocall apology to all parents in case anyone was offended. Have we just become so politically correct and sensitive that that's now on a par with, hey, the school is in lockdown, there's a gunman in the neighborhood, we have to call all the parents? I
We
mean,
have
really?
become that sensitive as a society.
It's a crisis?
I was talking to somebody recently. I don't know the details, but something about Obama not doing the Christmas tree thing. Is there something about that? He didn't.
He left out some
Decorate-
Christmas
no, that-
reference and something.
I thought it was like that the Christmas tree people came to do. This is what I heard from this person. Came to do the Christmas trees, and he's like, "Oh no, not this year or not this administration, because that's very Christocentric."
I have not heard that. I have heard that there have been places where they've dubbed them the holiday tree.
And I personally understand how some people would be like, "Yeah, well, what about the Jews and what about the Muslims?" And I can see a whole demographic of people who are very sensitive to that. I personally, I don't care, but I see how some people get really riled up in an effort to be very PC.
Get
But
over it. I mean, there are
you end up
so
not
many
being
other
yourself
things.
is what happens, right? I meant, if you are just who you are, then it all kind of works
Is it
out.
offensive to be Christian around people who are not, or would it be offensive only if you were requiring them to participate or requiring them to do your thing? I mean, to me, it's not offensive to be that around them. It's only offensive if you're forcing their hand.
Right, and like I said, I'll speak up because I do know there are Christians that try to force their beliefs without having a relationship with people, that just doesn't even work in anything. You can't force something upon somebody. God Himself does not force things upon people. So why would a Christian or anybody try to do that? It's all with the context of relationship. So, and you have to have relationships. To
When I
have
hear
trust.
people say holiday instead of Christmas, I can hear almost you can hear the wheels turning. It's so artificial sounding that I almost feel sorry for people that must think it's important to correct themselves that way and hew to that line of thinking, because they're thinking Christmas, but they're forcing themselves to say holiday. How is that really helping anyone?
I lived in New York so long that I got so tired of people attacking me for saying Merry Christmas that when I say Happy Holidays, Jack, I actually hope you have a happy holiday, because I don't think I'm aware that you could have a whole religious life that I don't know about. All I care about is that December goes well for you. And that happy holiday thing, I think for this generation and the ones to come, is just going to continue because everybody's coming from a different place.
So why don't you just say have a festive last lunar cycle of the year?
I may.
Oh, wow.
Hold on, let me write that down.
That was very new agey.
It was.
I should light a candle or something.
A little incense and all be good.
All right. On that note, we've said a lot. I don't know. Have we solved anything?
I'm not
Is
sure.
The world a better? Probably not.
Well, it's a better place just because we were here.
Yes, and not somewhere else. Robert Fleming, we'll see you today, Magnolia Pancake House. Everybody should go see Robert. And we'll
As
see you
always,
at
my pleasure.
Rappin' with Jack.
Yes, we'll see us at Rappin' with Jack, and we'll follow our Facebook page in the next few days because we have a promotion we've put together to fill some boxes because I heard Jack earlier this week. I know donations are down. Family Services of Bear County is a great organization, and if you're looking to put your money in your community, charity begins at home. This is a great cause, and we do not want to go backwards. We only want to go
We
forwards.
don't want to leave any children out on Christmas Day.
Absolutely
We're not going
not.
to do that. And of course, everybody invited to join us on Tuesday night, the 13th, 7 to 9, North Side Ford, and help out in advance, as Robert mentioned. Jade, we'll look for you in Plaza De Armas TX.
Absolutely. And later on today, if you want to bring your kids for a delightful evening, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. performances at the Majestic Theater, The Nutcracker.
Excellent.
Live on stage.
Bring your nuts, Jade. We'll crack them.
And Kevin Joyce, fractals.tv.
Yep.
And our best to you, and Merry Christmas to you and your family as well.
Likewise.
Good to see you again, Kevin. All right, 11:40 into the newsroom on News Talk 550 KTSA.